Thank you. Thank you, Teresa, for the excellent introduction. Let's see. All right, that should go away. So Typhoon is the main technical developer of the tool, and he's delayed. I'm afraid I have a demo that nothing is working. That's often the reason that we'll find out in a couple minutes. But thank you for coming out. I'll get straight to the point, and this is an outline of the talk, just to show that we have a plan on how to present this. So I'll talk about a minute or two about the role of technology in the learning, sort of from a, somewhat from a computer scientist point of view. Then I'll see I kind of completely shifted my research areas to develop these projects, why we did that. And hopefully we'll have a demo, and then I'll give you a quick look at the technology. I know this is not a computer science audience, but it's some of the things that are interesting. And then spend some time on our deployment at UH and what we've learned from there. And then wrap up. Feel free to stop me anytime. I haven't put a lot of material. I'm happy to talk anytime. Okay. So let's just pause for a minute and forget about the talk today. But I do want to. This will end up in a plug for the seminar series. So for centuries, professors, the way teaching worked was you stood in front of the class, students listened and memorized, and everything was good. Then came the textbook and big problems. So all of a sudden, professors like, am I really needed? What I used to do was read the book essentially, and now everybody can get the book. And but it turned out that after about 20 years or so, where things were very confused, we settled on the model that we're used to today, except for some recent developments where the textbook has a role, but professor has a role too. By the way, this I learned from a great talk by John Leonhard in one of these series some maybe 10 years ago. Then I think nothing happened. For centuries after that, we kept doing, we'll stand, we'll talk, there'll be a book maybe, and there'll be homework, and everything was good. And the PowerPoint came along, and that was one kind of a change. I don't know it made things better or worse, but at least it made things more convenient for professors as well as students when it was available to them. And then all of a sudden, 2000s, all kind of things started to happen. There were clickers, there were videos, social media. Now you have Wikipedia, so why do you need to go anywhere? Anything you want to know, you can find out from the web, and so on. And so finally, the basic model of, you stand in front of a class, lecture, there's homework and exam, that started to kind of change finally after many centuries. So what's happening, 1 in 4 students employs distance or online learning in the country. Whether we like it or not, that's a reality. And we have more flipped classroom, more online textbooks, and a lot of little things that are creeping in that were unknown, completely unheard of even sometimes 10 years ago. So why is this happening? Couple of reasons. One is financial. Education is more like a business. Students comparison shop. So there's a good chance that the universities will compete. And as our chancellor says, some of them will shut down. And so that's something that was never, that kind of pressure was never there before on the education enterprise. And now technology is there, and education research is telling us a lot of things, such as that students don't learn as much as we think they do after being 4 years in school and so on. So those are some of the drivers of change. So I'm not going to say where things are headed, but it's safe to say in 10, 15 years, even 10, 15, that's a short time interval, things would be very different. They already are very different from 10 years ago. You don't notice it because it happens gradually. And interestingly, when I talk to people outside and everywhere, sometimes the people who seem to be least clued in are the university professors. I talk to people outside, they say, I'm taking this course this way, this is online, and this is how I balance things. I get this from videos. And many of us are like, hey, nobody is, I don't get fired by just doing the same thing I did 20 years ago. But that's not going to last forever. Okay? So I'm going to move on to to the actual topic for the day, which is really my goal here is to, try to build some tools to make this whole thing better. Okay. So specifically, the research project we're working on is called ICS Videos. The purpose of it is to convert a video lecture into a learning resource. By that I mean a video lecture, you think of it as something you sit down for an hour and watch it. A learning resource is maybe a book where you refer to what you need to, you get the information that you want, not have a fixed watching session. And some of the technologies are indexing, search, and captioning. Why did we do this? UH has been a pioneer in terms of using video. I came here, I think, 18, 19 years ago, and already I was in NSM college, or I am in NSM college, we were already pushing professors to use tablet PCs, teach them, record, and put it online, and it was working very well. And so we've been doing, this is a more recent survey, but we've been doing surveys ever since for 15 years, and this is still typical of what we hear from the students. Having access to lectures is important to me. The green is all good, agree strongly, light green is agree. They all in favor. Lecture videos are useful. They help me with quizzes and tests. They help me clarify material. So they're a pretty powerful resource. And students, if we ask them, they come out loud and clear. These are very strong numbers for that kind of service. So that's what got us motivated. Let's do something. So then you can ask, if videos are already so great, why do anything? However, we did a lot of sessions with students, group meetings, and so on. So what came loud and clear is fairly obvious that students want answers to their questions, don't want to sit and watch a video if I have a choice. If there's no choice, they'll go and look for things, but that's their biggest problem. So that's what we started to. So our player looks like this, and hopefully, let me see, if all goes well, we'll have a live demo. So this is a live website. The location is icsvideos.uh.edu. Anybody can log in with their Kubernetes credentials. I'll use a credential that allows me a few more features. And any of you can get the professor access also if you want. You just have to email me. So this is what you can do. You can upload videos. You can offer a course. You can edit video. Edit really means that you remove one video and replace with something else, and then browse and search. So let's go to browse videos, which is what students mostly would need. So here it shows for each semester, for which we have courses here, each department, and so on. So let's just say, let's stick with biology, and let's get the most basic course we can find, and say submit. And it shows all the lectures that have been uploaded. Let's see, and we can just click on any of them. So that's the basic layout. You can adjust the sizes and so on. So this is the main playback window, and I can start playing something. And it's actually playing. We've kept the audio low so that I can talk. And these are the index points in this video, and they were automatically generated by our software. So if you go to any of them, you can see where that particular segment starts and what it is. So that allows you to browse over the lecture, and then you just, as soon as you click, the lecture will start from that point. Right? So that is probably one of the most interesting features. Let's see, this is the search feature. So let's see, this is not, I'm trying to search for something, and if I say anatomy, it shows me the parts of the video that has a match with that particular word and how often does it occur. Okay. Let's say I can try something else. Cells. So it blanks out everything that is not a match and shows me only what is a match. Okay. There are some other cool features, like you can speed up and slow down the playback, and sometimes that's helpful when the professor talks really fast, or you want to just scramble through something quickly. Let's see. So other things that you can do is, yeah, those are the most important features. I'll come to captioning in a minute. So I can also search through the whole content of the course, where I'm looking for cells, and it tells me that is probably a poor choice, because this is a course is about cells. Let me pick something else. Let's say bones. So then it shows me that lecture 2, 10, 11, 12 have that particular at least term used, and those is the frequency with it. So that also helps you direct what you want to be looking for. And you can put anything, since this is, hopefully, there's some reference to a brain. And so you see that it also shows the partial matches for that, not partial, matches where this is part of the word and what exactly is the term that is being used. So this is something that students find really useful. We can also go one step further and go to the search videos across the whole library. And in this case, you can pick the department, course, semester, or I can just say, here I can put cells, and this will take a few seconds. Okay, so now I'm looking at everything I've got. Is there a reference to this particular thing? And it shows me wherever it is, and mostly biology, but there's also occasionally computer science that talks about cells and something else. Okay. In order to show, the only other feature we're missing is captions, and there's a reason we'll discuss in a minute that not everything has captions. So there's only some lectures we have captions, in short, because it takes some extra work to have captions. So this is an old lecture using for, okay, it shows the ones that are captioned. Okay, so once the captions are there, they show up on a separate window on the side. And as the you can scroll around with the captions, and it should highlight what's playing. You can also click on any part of your transcript, and the video will play from where the transcript is. So, and this is also, it's sort of clear how it works. Yes?
So where it's reading now is where the red lines are?
Where it's reading now is...
the red lines are just on the side?
Red lines. Oh, no. Those red lines are just on the screen. So let me see. And you're having a little bit of trouble, but basically what happens is that the captions show up in the front. They're also supposed to be highlighted on the side. Usually they're highlighted where they are, and you can scroll around the whole lecture in captions, and then if you click anywhere, the lecture goes to that part. Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned, as you were queuing this up, that there's more work entailed in the captioning. Can you talk a little bit about what that extra work is?
I will in a minute. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we can come back to this whenever we need to. So, but that gives the basic things. There's also, cute features. You can close any window, expand any window, make this go away. The whole screen becomes bigger, and so on. So I'll go back to where we were. So now I'll spend a few minutes on what it took to get this working. By the way, that's Typhoon, my co-conspirator on this, who's done most of the technical work. I'm sure he was up all night fixing problems. So the three things we've built is search. And search is based on OCR, which is optical character recognition, reading text from the screen. Indexing, dividing lecture into segments at topic changes, and not at a fixed intervals, and captioning. So I'll spend a minute or two on each one of these, how we went about, and I've kept that part short because it gets very technical quickly, but if anybody's interested, we can have more discussion or we can talk afterwards. Okay. So the first one, for search, first thing you need is to be able to read what the text is on the screen. If you knew what the text was, you can go there. Right? So it turns out that there's a lot of tools for OCR, generally designed for text on, that is copied from paper, not so much for video. So one is by Google, there's something from Tesseract, something from Microsoft. So then we started looking, do they work when you put it on video frames? Now, video frame typically looks something like that. That's not, what the OCR tools were designed for. They're generally designed for more regular text, although they do reasonably well. So, but they make mistakes. Here's an example where, I'm going to go to, forgot to go to. So this is, just a slide from some lectures. Then we tried to run the OCR, 3 OCR tools on that. And they all got most of it right, but they also made mistakes. And interestingly, they didn't always make the same mistakes. They got most of that text right on the top, but they had a lot of trouble with these city names for some reason. Sometimes they got it, sometimes they got something completely off. So we don't know why that is, but we did some image transformations. It was interesting. We just kept throwing image transformation, making things bigger, making things smaller, changing the colors, and so on. And by doing that, we were able to get most of the text that they were missing originally. So with that transformation, we were up to typically high 90s%. And the better your text recognition, better your search. So that was one, and there's a couple of papers on that on the image processing side. So the next big one is indexing. So again, this is a very challenging thing to do. You want to break a video by topic, where what is a topic is really not well defined. So we developed some algorithms, and the hypothesis was that when the mix of words that are being used in a lecture changes significantly, then chances are that this is a new topic. So it's guesswork, but it's intelligent guesswork. And then the next thing was that how do we know it's right? So for that, we went to the instructors and asked them, what do you think are the topics in this your lecture? And that also isn't that easy for the instructor. So in terms of the methodology the algorithm uses, so you can think of video as a bunch of frames. So there's a video of an hour will be maybe a couple hundred or a couple thousand frames. And many of the frames are identical because there's usually your PowerPoint, and you're talking, and then the frame changes and stays that way. So this is what it looks like: same change, same change, same change. And in the first step, we figured that out. That's kind of easy. We say, the first 3 are identical, next 8 are identical. So this is all we have to work with. I don't need to look at hundreds of thousands of frames. This may be 10, 20, maybe 50, 100. But still, this having a different PowerPoint, in most cases, it could be something from the web. That doesn't mean the topic is changing. Especially in a typical lecture, you could have 50, 100, 200 sometimes. And then we try to look at the text and try to figure out when the topic changes. Right? So basic principle really is that the mix of words we analyze and try to work that out. So we developed a system, happy to go into more details if anybody's interested. And then we worked on a bunch of videos. And then the problem was the ground truth. Like, what do we compare against? We've got index points. Now what? So we built another system that we gave to the professors and said, here is a list of frames or equivalent PowerPoints in your lecture. And could you mark each one of them, whether it's a definite index point, maybe an index point, definitely not an index point, maybe an index point. And so that gives us some idea where the professor's thinking is. And index point means a topic change. And the reason we had these 4 categories instead of 1 and 0 was simply that professors are often not sure. They were often like, okay, there's a minor change here. Then if you put an index point, that's fine. If not, that's okay too. But this is a big one. If you don't get this topic change, that means your system is not working. So with that, we did some testing, and again, skipping a lot of details, what we got was 73% as good as what the professor was saying. So which is much better than 40%, which if we just pick topics, but there's room for improvement there. However, we think we can never get 100%, and here's the reason. We have 2 students very familiar with the lecture concept, and completely know the area, and we asked them, what do you think where the topic changes are, and compared that. One is the professor, and they were off significantly, and if we offer another professor, they'll be off a little bit. So we expect that 10-20% you can never get, because if humans differ, there is no right answer. So with 70%, we think we can go somewhat higher, but probably there's a ceiling on that. Okay, so what's next here? So the things that we are working on improving this are the following. Actually, before that, everything I said so far was based on text on the screen. We also did the same experiments with speech. Like, we converted speech to text and used that text. And it turns out that's not any better than using the screen. Actually, screen was slightly better. And in the next phase of the research, we are combining speech, text, as well as images in an intelligent way to have a better picture at the topic changes, because sometimes it seems like the text has completely changed, but the image is the same. So if image is the same, chances are the topic really has not changed. Maybe you're talking about the principle, no, you're talking about an example, and your mix of words is the same. And we think with everything we'll be able to do much better. And second thing, we're going to use machine learning. And the idea with machine learning is that it's sort of a machine-designed algorithm, so to which we give a lot of examples, and it builds its own scheme of how to put index points. So for instance, things like maybe something is in a large font and is common. That's a greater probability it's the same topic than the same word if it's in a small font. Those are difficult for us to human design an algorithm with all these things. Maybe if a word is in the top corner, then that's more important than the word in the middle. But machine learning, you just give it all of that, and it figures out how everything works. So hopefully, we'll have results on this in the coming months. Then captions. So it's kind of how they look. We just saw that. How did we do captions? First of all, we'll see evidence of this in a minute, but captions are important. When we started this project, we were interested in captions because one of our user set was a school for the deaf. But once we built captions, the hearing students wanted it, a lot too. So automatic speech recognition is what we start with, and it makes a lot of mistakes. But the interesting thing is that I would give these talks and keep saying that it makes so many mistakes that it's almost useless to put it there. But that was from data 5 years ago. It's getting so much better. So recent studies with speech recognition show that maybe it's, it is or soon will be good enough to be there. So, but in the meantime, we developed what we call a crowdsourced caption editor, to an editor to not write captions from scratch, but to fix them in a convenient way. So this is what it looks like. So here you have a screen here. So you can play the video, any part. The video is broken up into each little piece that is 10, 15 seconds, this thing. So these are the pieces. And here is the text corresponding to the audio there. So you can click, let's say you're interested in this, you find some mistakes over here. You click on that, it'll play the video in that section, and then you can manually correct anything. And the interesting thing is there are blocks like this, maybe like, I don't know, 50, 100 for one lecture, and 50 people could be working at the same time. So a group of students can do it quickly. It has some other cool features. Once you're done, you save your changes, and if you think even you are not sure, then you can mark here saying, I'd like somebody else to take a look at this also. So this was helpful, but it still still requires organizing students, and that's why we don't do it regularly. If somebody is interested, we help them with that.
Is this hosted? This whole file is a collaborative document?
Yes. So this document would be kind of be on our server, and yeah, right. It would be a collaborative document. Think of it on the cloud. Yeah. So it's something anybody can access. Just think of web document. So we did this. We did some experiments. We got a bunch of students to work on it, and they were very enthusiastic, and it all got done for this particular thing. There were, I think, 10, 12 students participated. Each did somewhere between 9 and 52 segments. A segment is, I think, a few seconds. And one person spent somewhere between a few minutes and about an hour, and the whole thing was done in a few days. But it was just sort of to see that it works, proof of concept kind of things. And normally it takes somebody like 10 hours to correct captions of a video. It's a painful work to get the captions right. That's why you don't often see them. So then did it work? So we asked the same students that after this, the caption and transcript represented what the professor said. They by and large agreed, but some did not completely agree. So it's possible that even after this, there were a few mistakes, but it was much more useful than before for this. So another kind of a silly questions we asked was that, would you be interested in working with other students to do this if there was some reward for you? And they said yes, and we need to ask this question without the reward. We forgot, and the next time. All right, so that is more or less about the system and the system validation. And I'll spend the next few minutes on surveys that we've been doing for students on large scale. This is based on more than 4,000 responses from students over several years. And these are some of the departments whose courses were included in the survey. They're mostly NSM, but there's others too. So first result was just asking them, do you watch videos? None of these is, most or almost all, if not all, are regular courses. They're not online courses. So videos were not required. The lecture was recorded and posted, and they could watch it or not watch it. It wasn't necessarily, it could go either way, kind of like a book. And 85%, 84%, they used videos at least once. At least 81% watched at least one video, and at least half of them watched the same video more than once, even though this is something that's already covered in class. So basically, they like and use videos of lectures when they're available. Then we asked them, what do you watch it for? Why do you watch the video? So the leading reasons are review for tests or assignments and anything they couldn't understand. Of course, if many of them used it to cover for an absence, And then other minor reasons, if they couldn't hear something, or miscellaneous reasons. But the main point is they're not just using it for not coming to class. Everybody's using it irrespective of that. This we've already seen in the beginning. Again, it says videos are important, they're useful, they help with quizzes and tests, and they help clarify material. So another question was, how do you rate these resources? Professor's notes, if they're available, lecture videos, your own notes, and the textbook. And interestingly, textbook is the one that got the least number of points for that, and videos are up there with other categories with professors and students' notes and so on. So this is, we also did, actually, we work with some other education scientists, and one of the interesting and somewhat unexpected conclusion was that video use and attendance were actually slightly positively correlated. That is the first fear professors have, that if I put videos, why would anybody come to my class? And my answer usually is, first, why do you care? If they're learning, why do you care they come to the class or not? And second, that won't happen. So students who are responsible, they come to the class and watch videos. Those who are not, don't do either. So that's not a good reason.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Was there some kind of intentional sequential releasing, like first they're face-to-face, first they have the lecture, and then the after?
Right. So that's a good question. Basically, we let the professors do whatever they wanted. So in many cases, I don't know, actually somebody else might know better. I guess my wild guess would be in half the cases, it was a live lecture that was recorded and then put online, and then usually it'll be the next day or something. In other instances, professors were using recorded lectures from a previous semester, then also lecturing live, and in those cases, they had control over when they release, but I would say by and large, they would release it ahead of time. So, but I do not know exactly what they did. My guess is that if it was available ahead of time, but of course, if it's live recorded, then it's after the class. Okay. So another survey question, which goes like, is it important to attend the class whether or not videos are available? There is generally strong agreement. They're not stupid. It's much easier to learn live and use video as a secondary resource than to blow off classes. And typically those that blow off classes end up dropping the course rather than doing well with videos. So there was one class we focused on. It was a large class, a psychology class with Professor Lee Leisure. And essentially, she flipped this whole class and gave them lectures ahead of time. I think in this case, she recorded the lectures. One second, I think there's something still playing. Okay. Okay, get that out of the way. So these questions were a little bit different. They did not have the live lecture. She would post the lectures that were pre-recorded and then use the class time just for discussion. And this was interesting. It was a pretty large intro psychology class. And I mean, not surprisingly, they say a review of lectures was important. There's no other material really, and other than possibly a book. So the video was a faster way to cover lecture material than a face-to-face lecture. We didn't know what to expect from that, but somehow most of them say yes, although not that strongly. But this is more interesting. I prefer this combination of video and in-class discussion over a traditional class, a fairly strong agreement, although there is some 20% who didn't like it, but the 80% think it's a good idea. Anyway, this is just one test case, but it's interesting. Now, a couple minutes on all these videos had indexing and search. So we asked them specifically, was indexing helpful? Again, very strong positive response. Indexing was helpful. indexing did a good job of separating the lectures, and indexing made it easy to navigate the video, not 100% in strong, but generally overall very positive. We asked a very similar response for search. Search was easy to use. Search appeared to find what I was looking for, and it made it easy to navigate the video. So these features do what they're intended to do when people use them. I didn't show when we asked them how much they used it. Only half of them said they use search significantly. Indexing, almost everybody uses it because it's in your face when you play it, versus search, you have to look for, first think what you want to search for. But they liked this a lot. And this is the captioning. Captions help me understand what the professor was saying. Videos with captions are better than videos without them. Again, very strong agreement. So this was somewhat of a surprise in the strength of positivity we got for captions. It doesn't matter. You can hear everything. You still want captions. And these are some detailed captions are good for learning, attention, efficiency, note-taking, and not as helpful for the details of the survey. And finally, we had hundreds, if not thousands, of comments from students, and we did several focus groups over the years. They were extremely happy. I mean, it's not, not sort of extrapolating that this is wonderful, and they'd come and personally thank me and all the students working on it. This made a big difference, and these are like very common comments. I learned 80% from the videos. This is a great tool. Indexing helped me, so generally all the focus groups are very appreciative. And some of them were like, can you make professors have to have videos? It's like, well, not right now. In a nutshell, lecture videos are really an important learning tool. We should think of them not as a replacement for the lecture, but more like we think of a textbook. And students strongly value videos, there's no questions, and they use them routinely. It's not like the odd student who misses out, and so they work. On the technical side, the automatic methods that we've used, they've been fairly effective at making videos more useful than they would be without them. So what are we doing next in the project? I talked about this already. Indexing can be improved, there's no question. We have an idea how this will work. It'll be a lot of work because it's a lot of image analysis combined with text analysis and audio. We don't exactly know how to use all these things together. But that's where machine learning methods help out. They find out for us how this combination seems to work in most cases. Another important aspect of the project that we are just kind of starting is called summarization. So when we break up a video into pieces, right now what was on display was essentially the first slide. So not the content of the whole the segment that it is representing. So we're doing research into if there's this video segment, first, what are the keywords that best represent that video segment? In that case, we'll show the keyword with sort of a snapshot of the segment, as well as images. If that segment has images, we don't want to slap them together, but we want to pick either representative images or have a combined image from what we see and say, these are your lecture is 10 parts. For each part, here are the keywords, and here is a couple pictures which might be helpful for you to decide what you want to look for. And that's ongoing work. We're not going to do anything with automatic speech recognition. We still have some issues, but Google is working on it, so they know what they're doing. Then the other thing we are working on is we want this to be available to everybody, not just NSM or UH, and we're looking into how we can either as a nonprofit or as a profit or through sort of foundation grants to make it widely available. So right now we just sort of have resources from research projects here and there to cobble this together. Of course, a lot of people helped with this. Rajiv, Ryan, they're in the back. Typhoon is over there. Several faculty helped out. Several students got their masters and PhDs working on this. NSMIT staff has been an important part of this because they're the one who go out to the professors and explain how it works, how to record and so on. Andrea has been over there, has been very helpful. We've worked with sort of assessment experts to make this happen. And deployment has largely been at UH, several departments, but also at UH Downtown and Texas School for the Deaf, at least in the past. Currently, it's mostly here for some practical reasons. And finally, this framework is freely available to anybody who wants it. It's fairly stable. We've been using it for several years. Yes, we get complaints every now and then. It's software. What do you expect? And but it hasn't been that it just. We have never heard that this didn't do its. Because of these problems, it didn't do what it was supposed to do. So this is the website that I mentioned. You can go, you can log in with your CougarNet, and you can watch all the videos that are there. If you want more details on the project and the technology and the papers and so on, this other website, CS in the middle, just to distinguish it, has all that material. And if you're interested, especially in to put some content there or to use the system, just drop an email here or to me, and we'll be more than happy to work with you. That's all I have. Thank you. Yes?